If you own a home or know someone who does, this case will change how you think about what it truly means to own a property in America. Not the idea of it, the legal reality of it. Because what happened to Fillmore Brown, a grandfather from East Flatbush, Brooklyn, is not a story about crime, fraud, or financial recklessness. It is a story about a man who did everything right, paid off his mortgage, built equity, created rental income, and still lost an $800,000 home over a $5,000 water bill he says he never knew existed.
It's rough, it's tough. I cannot eat, I cannot drink, I cannot sleep, I cannot stay at the house.
That was your American dream?
That was my dream, only dream.
If it happened to him, the system that allowed it is already built around you too. Don't skip this video. The dream that took 23 years to build. Most people never make it to the finish line when it comes to finally owning a home. Fillmore Brown did, and it cost him everything. In 1996, Brown purchased a 3-story home in East Flatbush, Brooklyn. This wasn't an impulse buy or a lucky inheritance. It was a calculated plan executed over decades. He lived in the top unit and rented out the 2 floors below to tenant families. The building wasn't just a home, it was a self-sustaining financial investment. The rental income helped carry the mortgage carried the dream, and Brown carried all of it, 7 days a week for years without pause. By 2019, after more than 2 decades of that grind, something happened that most American homeowners only fantasize about. He made his final mortgage payment. The home was his. Completely legally finally his. Here's what that moment means for someone who has fought that long for it. It isn't just financial relief, it's proof. For Fillmore Brown, that paid-off home represented his retirement, his security, and by his own words, the only dream he had ever chased. Not one of many, the only one, and he had caught it, or so he believed. According to the U.S. Census Bureau's 2023 American Community Survey, only about 32% of owner-occupied homes in the United States are owned free and clear, meaning the majority of homeowners are still paying off a mortgage. To reach that 32% is an achievement most people spend their entire working lives chasing. Brown had crossed that line. He had done what millions of Americans are still straining toward, but here is where the story quietly turns. Somewhere around 2019, the same year Brown made his final mortgage payment, a water bill went unpaid. It started small, the way these things always do, then interest accumulated. Fees were added on top of fees. The balance climbed, slowly, invisibly, until it reached approximately $5,000 on an $800,000 property. To put that in perspective, that's 0.6% of the home's value, the kind of number most homeowners would clear in a single afternoon if they knew it was there. Log in, pay the balance, move on. Brown has been consistent and clear from the beginning. If he had known, he would have paid it immediately without hesitation, without negotiation. This is not a story about someone who ignored a debt and hoped for the best. This is a story about someone who says he never knew the debt existed. And that distinction between ignoring and not knowing is the difference between a cautionary tale about carelessness and something far more unsettling. Because if Brown never received a warning, then the system that was supposed to warn him failed. And if the system failed him, it can fail anyone sitting comfortably in a paid-off home right now, confident the hard part is behind them. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's 2023 report on housing insecurity, municipal debt, including water bills and city fees, is among the least monitored categories of financial obligation by homeowners, particularly among older adults who have paid off their mortgages and no longer engage regularly with property-related financial statements. Brown felt exactly what that data describes: relief, security, and the confidence of someone who had cleared his biggest financial obligation. From where he stood in 2019, there was nothing left to worry about. The mortgage was gone. The tenants were paying. The building was his. What he didn't know was that a quiet $5,000 balance was already setting a machine in motion, one he had never heard of, and one that doesn't stop moving just because you don't know it exists. The invisible machine, how a $5,000 water bill becomes a legal weapon. Most homeowners have never heard of a municipal lien sale. And lack of this knowledge costs people everything. Here is how the system works, and pay close attention, because this is the part that changes how you think about property ownership permanently. In New York City, when a homeowner falls behind on certain municipal charges, water bills, property taxes, sewer fees, and other city-related balances, the city doesn't simply send a collections agency. It has a far more powerful option. It packages those unpaid debts into a financial instrument and sells them, not to another government office, not to a consumer protection body, to a private investor trust. That transfer is called a municipal lien sale. And the moment it happens, everything changes. The city steps back. The private trust steps in. And the trust has legal authority the average homeowner would never expect a water bill to carry. Once the trust owns the debt, it adds interest. It adds fees. It adds legal costs. The original balance, in Brown's case, approximately $5,000, begins to grow. And if that balance remains unpaid after a defined period, the trust doesn't sit and wait. It initiates foreclosure proceedings. Yes, you heard right. The private trust moves against your home over a municipal charge that may have started as a few $100s in unpaid water fees. Here's the critical detail that most homeowners never realize until it is already too late. This process operates on an entirely separate legal track from your mortgage. It has nothing to do with your bank, nothing to do with your payment history with a lender. You could be completely current on your home loan. You could have no mortgage at all, exactly like Fillmore Brown. It does not matter. Municipal debt and mortgage debt are governed by different systems, different laws, and different enforcement mechanisms. Paying off your bank does not protect you from your city's billing system. Those are two separate worlds, and most homeowners only discover that when they're already standing in the wreckage of it. According to a 2022 report by the National Consumer Law Center, municipalities across the United States sold over $15 billion worth of tax and municipal liens to private investors between 2005 and 2021. In many of those cases, homeowners lost properties worth multiples of the original debt, with low-income and elderly homeowners disproportionately affected. New York City's lien sale program alone has transferred thousands of properties out of the hands of long-term homeowners over debts that, in many cases, could have been resolved with a single payment. Now here is the second layer, and this one is where the system becomes truly dangerous. When a lien is sold and foreclosure proceedings begin, the city and the trust are legally required to notify the homeowner. Notices must be sent. Court dates must be scheduled. On paper, the process looks orderly, transparent, and fair, but here is what the law actually requires in many jurisdictions, including New York. Proof that the notice was mailed, not proof that it was received, not confirmation that the homeowner opened it, not verification that it reached the correct address. Mailed is sufficient. That single word, mailed, is where the system quietly breaks down. Billing addresses can mismatch. Mail gets lost. After a debt is transferred from the city to a private trust, communication systems don't always update in sync. A notice sent to an outdated address, a unit number transposed, a letter that never makes it past a mailbox, any of these can sever the connection between a homeowner and a legal process that is moving forward without them. In Brown's case, the city maintains that multiple notices were sent to his property. Brown maintains that none of them reached him. Both statements can be simultaneously true. A letter can be mailed and still never arrive. And under the legal standard as it existed, the city's obligation ended at the point of mailing. According to a 2021 Urban Institute study on property tax foreclosure, notification failures, including misdirected mail and outdated address records, were identified as a contributing factor in an estimated 20% of municipal foreclosure cases reviewed, with elderly homeowners and multi-unit property owners at highest risk of missing critical legal correspondence. That is the invisible machine. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wait for confirmation. It runs on paperwork, legal standards, and transfer timelines that most homeowners have never been introduced to. And by the time you hear the noise outside your door, the sound of power tools in the dark, it has already finished its work. The machine didn't care that Fillmore Brown had spent 30 years building that home. It only cared that a balance existed, and it moved accordingly. The court date he never knew existed, and the auction that didn't wait. There is a moment in every legal process where intervention is still possible, a window where a phone call, a payment, or a court appearance can stop everything. For Fillmore Brown, that window opened and closed without him ever knowing it was there. At some point after the lien on Brown's property was sold to the private investor trust, foreclosure proceedings were formally initiated. This wasn't a threat or a warning letter. This was a legal action with a scheduled court date, a docket number, and a timeline moving toward a defined outcome. A process that, under normal circumstances, gives a homeowner the opportunity to appear, contest, negotiate, or simply pay the outstanding balance and walk away with their property intact. Brown didn't appear, not because he didn't care, but because he says he didn't know. And so the process continued, orderly, legal, and completely invisible to the man whose entire financial life sat at the center of it. In December 2024, Fillmore Brown's 3-story Brooklyn home went to auction, and he had zero idea. Ownership of an $800,000 property fully paid off, generating rental income representing nearly 30 years of 7-day work weeks, was transferred to a new buyer at auction, while Brown slept in the top unit, still believing the building was his. According to a 2023 report by the Urban Institute on Municipal Tax Lien Foreclosures, homeowners who miss initial court dates in municipal foreclosure proceedings have less than a 12% chance of recovering their property after a public auction is completed, even when they can demonstrate they were never properly notified of the proceedings. 12%. That is the wall you are running into after the gavel comes down. The auction didn't pause to confirm he had been reached. It didn't wait for a returned phone call or an opened letter. The gavel came down, and after December 2024, the paperwork said Fillmore Brown was no longer the legal owner of the only dream he had ever chased, and the system closed in the most violent way imaginable. Power tools in the dark. The moment the system showed its face. There are things that happen in a courthouse that never feel real until they show up at your door. For Fillmore Brown, it showed up as noise. It was the middle of the night. Brown and the families living in his building were asleep when the sound of power tools woke him up. The kind of sound that pulls you out of sleep with your heart already moving faster than your thoughts. The first instinct was the obvious one. Someone is breaking in. That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like. Strangers with tools, working on the building in the middle of the night, trying to force entry into a structure where people were sleeping. Every instinct said burglary. Every instinct was wrong. The individuals outside were not burglars. They were connected to the new legal owners of the property, the buyers who had purchased Brown's home at auction in December 2024 while he was still living in it. They had the legal right to be there. They had paperwork that said so, and they had arrived in the middle of the night to begin exercising that right. That was how Fillmore Brown learned he no longer owned his home. Think carefully about what that moment does to a person who has lived in a building for nearly 30 years. You paid it off. You believed it was yours. You woke up every morning in the top unit of a building you fought for across 3 decades of 7-day work weeks. And the first time anyone communicates to you that the ownership has changed is when strangers show up at night with the legal right to walk through your door. According to the American Psychological Association's 2023 Stress in America report, housing instability and involuntary displacement rank among the top 3 sources of acute psychological trauma in adults over 50, producing stress responses comparable to those triggered by sudden bereavement or serious medical diagnosis. Brown's own words confirmed exactly what that research describes.
It's rough, it's tough. I cannot eat, I cannot drink, I cannot sleep, I cannot stay at the house.
That was your American dream.
That was my dream.
His story had just become something far more devastating than any court document could capture, but Brown refused to let it go without a fight. The courtroom fight back and the reform battle that followed. After the midnight confrontation with the new legal owners, Brown retained an attorney and filed for judicial review, asking the courts to pause or reverse what had happened to his property. His legal team's argument was precise and pointed. The outcome was extraordinary, the process was preventable, and the notification system that was supposed to protect homeowners had failed in a way the law was never designed to allow. The case moved into the courts, and it didn't stay quiet for long. City council members got involved. The public advocate's office responded. A press conference was held outside Brown's home. The message was deliberate. This was not an abstract policy debate. This was a specific address, a specific family, and a specific failure that demanded a specific response. Legislators began proposing concrete reforms targeting the exact mechanisms that had made Brown's situation possible. Chief among them, restrictions on the city's ability to sell municipal liens to private investor trusts for residential properties, particularly for owner-occupied homes and small landlords like Brown. Additional proposals included stronger notification requirements demanding proof of receipt rather than proof of mailing, mandatory cure periods giving homeowners a defined window to pay outstanding balances before foreclosure proceedings could advance, and automatic legal aid referrals for homeowners who miss initial court dates in municipal foreclosure cases. City officials maintained throughout the public debate that existing safeguards were sufficient, that the process provided adequate time, adequate information, and adequate opportunity for homeowners to respond before reaching the point of auction. But the public had already seen the outcome. The safeguards, whatever they were on paper, had not been sufficient for Fillmore Brown. As of late 2025, legal proceedings in Brown's case were still ongoing. No final court ruling had restored his property. No legislative reform had been signed into law. The fight was real, the momentum was visible, but the outcome remained unresolved. So the next question remained, how can one stop this from happening to them? How to make sure this never happens to you? The exact steps that could save your home. Fillmore Brown's story is not just a warning. Every failure point in his case is preventable. The unpaid water bill, the missed notices, the invisible foreclosure timeline, each has a specific counter move. Step 1. Pull your municipal water and sewer balance directly. Do not wait for a statement to arrive in the mail. Go directly to your city or county's official utility portal and search your city or county plus water bill account balance lookup. Every municipality maintains an online portal where property owners can check outstanding balances using a property address or parcel number. Your parcel number, also called an APN or assessor's parcel number, appears on any property tax statement you have ever received. A balance you don't know about is already accumulating interest. Check it today. Step 2. Run an annual municipal lien search on your property. Once per year, contact a licensed title company in your county and request a municipal lien search or tax and lien status report. This document, typically costing between $75 and $150, returns every outstanding municipal charge attached to your property, including water bills, sewer assessments, code violation fines, and any existing lien transfers. Search Municipal Lien Search plus your county name to find licensed providers. This is the exact search a mortgage lender runs before approving a home loan. Run it yourself annually, whether you carry a mortgage or not. Step 3. Enroll in electronic billing and balance alerts. Physical mail is the weakest link in the notification chain, as Brown's case proved. Contact your local water utility, property tax authority, and any city billing department tied to your address and request enrollment in electronic billing and digital alerts. Search Your City plus Property Tax e-billing enrollment and Your City plus Water Utility paperless billing to find the specific enrollment pages. Once active, critical notices reach you by email or text, independent of whether a physical letter ever arrives. Step 4. Check your state's homeowner protection programs. Many states offer specific exemptions that shield eligible homeowners, particularly seniors, disabled residents, and veterans, from having municipal debt sold to private investor trusts. Search Your State plus Municipal Lien Sale Homeowner Exemption to identify programs available in your jurisdiction. Qualifying and enrolling before a lien sale cycle is the single most powerful protective step a vulnerable homeowner can take. According to a 2022 National Tax Line Association report, approximately $21 billion in property tax and municipal liens were sold to private investors across the United States in 2022 alone, with residential homeowners representing the majority of affected property owners. $21 billion. Moving quietly through a system most homeowners don't know exists. Now you do, and you have exactly what you need to make sure your home is never part of that number. The most dangerous belief in American home ownership is the one that paying off your mortgage means your home is finally permanently safe. It doesn't. Your home is only as safe as your awareness of every system attached to it. Do you own your home outright or know someone who does? Drop a comment below and tell us, did you know the municipal lien sale system existed before reading this? Your answer might be the warning that saves someone else's home. If this story opened your eyes, hit the like button and subscribe, because the next case we cover could be about the town, the city, or the neighborhood right next to yours.